Welcome to Six Sigma Black Belt, Course 2, Module 3, Team Training. Module 3, Lesson 3, Conflict Management Skills for Project Teams. In previous lessons, we learned that open and honest discussion among team members with differing viewpoints will often result in conflicting ideas, but that these ideas are important for team creativity. However, there can be a fine line between productive and creative conflict and conflict that becomes destructive. In this lesson, we will discuss ways to keep conflict constructive, creative, and productive. Conflict is common on project teams, especially because we deliberately select team members who have different roles within the organization and different perspectives on the problem. But we do this because we know that the conflict that results from these differing perspectives can lead to greater creativity and better solutions, as long as it's managed effectively. The key is to maintain a level of conflict that results in open discussion and the free exchange of differing viewpoints while not letting it become personal or destructive. Sources of team conflict. Conflict occurs on Six Sigma teams for many reasons. Understanding why it's occurring can help us identify the best way to manage it. Some of the common reasons for conflict on Six Sigma teams include different views of the problem or a lack of clarity in the team's objectives. This is common during the storming stage of team development and can lead to frustration and difficulty communicating. The team's charter is key to avoiding this particular problem. Another potential source of conflict is a lack of understanding of the team's roles, responsibilities, and expectations, which is common during the forming stage. Because this can lead to fear and frustration, as well as perceived differences in contribution, team member roles, responsibilities, and expectations must be clarified early on in the team's development. Different values or beliefs, which can result from different perspectives on the problem or differences between departments or levels, can also be a source of conflict on a Six Sigma team. While different perspectives can provide a more thorough understanding of the problem and more creative solutions, they cannot be allowed to create barriers between team members, which is why this lesson is so important. Another possible source of conflict on a Six Sigma team is how the decision-making process will be handled. This should therefore be addressed during the forming stage so that everyone understands and agrees on how the team will make decisions. Lack of effective communication is also often a source of team conflict. We discussed many useful techniques for ensuring effective team communication in the last lesson. Finally, unresolved prior conflicts or simply personality clashes can be a source of conflict on teams. While there is nothing that can be done to change the past or team members' personalities, the team leader should be aware of issues such as these when selecting team members. Unless team members can put the past and any personality differences aside while on the team leader should consider other people who can work together. Symptoms of conflict problems on a team. So how do you know when a team is having problems with conflict? Well, there are many warning signs that the conflict on the team is becoming destructive. For example, team members may become impatient with one another or attack ideas before they are completely expressed. They may refuse to compromise or even constantly disagree with other team members. Instead of speaking assertively, team members may become aggressive communicators and make their comments with great vehemence or emotion. They may attack one another subtly on a personal level or begin to belittle the ability of the group. They may even begin to disagree with the leader's suggestions. Another symptom of a conflict problem is when the team members accuse one another of not understanding the basic issue, or they distort each other's contributions. You might even see conflict among a few members begin to create apathy among others. Most important, you will likely also see team effectiveness decline if conflict is left unresolved. It is therefore important for Six Sigma team leaders to watch for early warnings of problems with conflict so that action can be taken to resolve the issues before they result in team failure. Conflict handling strategies. There are many different ways to handle conflict, and it's important to realize that there is no one method for handling conflict that is always right or always wrong. It all depends on what will work best in the organization's culture and at that specific moment for that particular conflict. A good Six Sigma team leader will know which strategy will be most effective in any given conflict situation. For example, collaboration requires identifying a new alternative that will satisfy all conflicting parties for a win-win outcome. Collaboration is usually the best alternative when both views are equally important and everyone's agreement is needed, but it can be very time-consuming. Compromise, on the other hand, requires everyone to win some and lose some. Compromise is typically most applicable when two opponents have equal power and equal goals, but it's not worth the effort or disruption to take the time to reach a collaborative outcome. Compromise works best when the conflicting sides are not very far apart, however, so that neither side has too much to lose, or both sides will end up feeling like they lost. Accommodation, where people on one side of a conflict give in to the other side, is suitable when an issue is more important to one side than the other, and giving in will not negatively affect the final outcome of the team. On the other hand, forcing or dominating involves the side with more power forcing their position on the other side. While this may sound like a hostile approach, it is often appropriate, especially when quick decisions are needed, or when one side has information or knowledge that the other side lacks, and not forcing the decision could result in a negative outcome. Lastly, avoiding the conflict altogether is sometimes the best way to go, especially for less important issues or when the potential damage from the conflict outweighs the benefits of a resolution. It is also often a good idea to avoid conflict, at least temporarily, any time that emotions are high. Other ways to resolve conflict. Since conflict is often the result of communication problems, techniques to help improve communication effectiveness are also often helpful with conflict resolution, such as encouraging open communication and active listening among the conflicting parties, or clarifying messages or problems and adding relevant information or alternatives. In addition, team leaders should always monitor the problem-solving process to make sure that the interaction is fair and that the agreed-upon decision-making method is being followed. They should remind the team to focus on problems and behaviors, not personalities or people. Team leaders should encourage rationality and the use of facts over opinions, and they should discourage power plays. Lastly, team leaders should review and confirm the team's commitment to the solutions once they're reached to ensure that everyone understands and agrees. With these tips and the right guidance, Six Sigma teams can keep disagreement constructive so that the team can stay creative while continuing to learn from one another.